From the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
You are listening to
Mississippi's #1 sports talk show, The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming worldwide live on the Out of Bounds radio app and on your radio at ESPN 105.9. The Zone.
Oh, I went by Edwin Watts Golf Shop yesterday. Got to see Carrie and the team. They were busy, which is good. And got to see an old friend. It's funny. I ran into an old friend in the parking lot that I have not caught up with in years. And I should be shot for not going and eating lunch with him. Wonderful person. And ran into him, introduced him to my son, and I have to make that call in the next day or two. So, because I think he's 80 years old, maybe even north. But I don't want to date him too much. He may be listening to the show. He may get mad at me. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, WRKS. Welcome in. Good morning. Show is brought to you by the 12-ounce filet, side of scallops, and go ahead and call a Wild Turkey 101 old-fashioned. Kessler Prime in the Renaissance. Visit KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. I love the rebranding, kind of rebooting marketing of Wild Turkey 101. They've done a great job. And I saw the ad in Whiskey Advocate of McConaughey. He's not just Long Branch, evidently, which is his bourbon, and it's delicious, but it was a Wild Turkey 101 ad. I was reading it at Sal and Mookie's in Madison earlier in the week by myself, just having a little lunch, and they did a great job with that ad. Speaking of, I'm going to need Will to go get that Whiskey Advocate out of the car and so on. So we'll get that later, because I want to quote what they were talking about. Anyway, Kessler Prime in the Renaissance, KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. Blake, we're off and running at Augusta National?
That's right.
Okay. Good.
We've just started, just started. They've got the lead group has just finished the second hole.
Okay.
The second group's finished the first hole, and then the third group's about to go off. And like we said, right now I'm trying to look for Tiger, but he's kind of down here. He should be pretty soon here.
Okay. So he's going to go off in the next hour. And, And that'll be because it's 9:03 Eastern time. And Jose Maria Olazabal. That's where we got Holy Mary Olazabal.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
He's tied for the lead at even.
Fred Couples goes off at 9:03.
Yeah, that's Mike Weir, former Masters champion, Canadian. He double bogeyed one. Congrats, Mike. He had a cool dinner. That's the only reason I remember.
He had a great dinner. He's a boring. I'm sure Mike's a nice guy and a wonderful husband and father.
Well, Canadians are known to be fun.
But, I mean, he's boring. He's a boring golfer. It's like Bill Self in basketball. You can't get, Kansas, great champion, wonderful team. Bill Self is boring.
Yeah.
Calipari, Krzyzewski, some of these other guys are not. Rick Pitino, when he was, getting in all kinds of trouble at Louisville.
That's funny.
But Mike Weir's boring. He's a left-hander. He's from Canada. He won it, but he did have a great Masters Champions Dinner menu.
That's
You are right.
Tiger Woods, 10:04 Central Time is the official tee.
Oh.
10:04 Central Time.
Oosthuizen. And let's see.
Neiman.
Joaquin Neiman.
That's right.
By the way, I don't know this guy because I don't go that deep into golf, but Jim Nance loves Neiman's odds to win the Masters this weekend. Also, real quick, Jim Gallagher Jr. is on the Golf Channel right now, which is cool. Jim Gallagher Jr., of course, lives in the state of Mississippi, and he's won on the PGA Tour, and his wife, Sissy Gallagher, is also an amazing golfer. Their kids have gone on to play college golf, Mississippi State and LSU. He's a hell of a guy. He's been on the show a dozen times, and you can watch him right now on the Golf Channel.
Tiger Woods is plus 5,000 to win the Masters, okay?
Okay.
So we're going to do our little – we got 4 minutes. We're going to do our little Masters pick that we talked about. But
I'm not ready to do that right now.
Oh, you don't know your guys?
No. I'd have to look at it.
Oh, you're going to have to. John Rahm's leading plus 1,200.
Okay.
He's the odds-on favorite.
Do we have that audio?
Yeah.
We've still got time in this segment. John Rahm talking about Tiger Woods. I know you want to pick the winners. We can do that at some
we
point.
can. We got time.
All right.
I think this is
We'll have Steve Palazzolo with Pro Football Focus on NFL QBs coming up. Where's Baker Mayfield going to end up? I don't know. And what's going to happen with some of these other guys that there were 2 more you mentioned yesterday.
Deadline quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah.
They happen to both be Alabama guys. Yeah.
I think if they hadn't gone to Alabama, they would not be getting, this much leeway. But
it's deadline years.
It is.
You got to put up or shut up.
Yeah. I think they are who they are. But they may can find the magic with especially this new coach, Mike McDaniel, down in Miami, who's an offensive guy.
Another guy in the NFC East who's probably got a make-or-break year is Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones.
Yeah. And
That's
is this the last run for Carson Wentz? If he has a bad year in Washington, is he out?
Carson Wentz
as a starter.
Is back in the NFC East.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Going to throw touchdowns to the Eagles one more time.
With the Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
He needs to throw him to Trayvon Diggs with Dallas.
I'm all about it. Speaking of which, Stephon Diggs just got paid $100 million in Buffalo.
He's a great player.
Great wide receiver.
Yeah. All right, let's go with John Rahm, who's a heck of a golfer, talking about getting, tips and advice from Tiger Woods?
Yeah, they asked him if he's ever gotten any advice from Tiger.
This is great.
I think there's only one man in this field that hears advice from Tiger, because I've asked before and I get nothing. So you might need to ask Justin Thomas, because I'm not. I've asked him before. I remember asking him at Eastlake the year he won, before we're in the putting green in the practice round, like, hey man, any tips for Bermuda, this and that? And he turned around and just said, it's all about feel, and let's keep going. And I was like, cool, thank you. I asked him at Albany once about chipping into the grade. I just got to be shallow. I'm like, okay, right. Meanwhile, I turn around and JT is there with him. He's getting a whole dissertation on what to do. So, I've been able to ask other players. I've picked Phil's brain around here, Ollie a little bit, but I feel like the course when Ollie played it and he played his best golf has changed a little bit. And even from when Seve played it, right? I mean, you might be able to do some of the things they talked about, but the golf ball has changed. The wedges have changed. The golf course, the speed of the greens, the firmness has changed, right? So some of the things you might be able to apply, some others not really.
I love his accent.
Yeah.
And he's funny.
He's also amazing at golf.
He's unbelievable. I actually know who he is.
Yeah.
He's big time. No question about it.
But outside of Tiger,
that's a guy you would love to go to dinner with. He's Spanish, and I love Spanish wine, and dive into some Spanish wine and some kind of amazing meal.
Yeah.
And let him just talk.
It feels like outside of when Tiger was on his run, Masters favorites don't win it.
Yeah.
He's the favorite. It just feels like it's not – a lot of times the favorites don't win at the Masters. So,
good grief, he's not old at all.
No, he's a kid.
He was born in 1994?
Yeah, he's 3 years younger than me.
That is just ridiculous. So he's 27 years old.
Yeah, Will, what are you doing with your life?
And the guy's built like a strong safety.
Yeah.
6'2", 220 pounds.
It's all that Spanish
from
rice.
Spain, man.
Yeah.
He went to Arizona State. That's so cool. I love that.
Do you know the SEC has more players in the Masters than any other conference?
Who is the best player in the field from the Southeastern Conference that odds to win? Text line 601-885-3776.
Didn't Justin Thomas go to Georgia?
He went to Bama.
Okay, he's number 2.
It'd be Bama. It'd be Justin.
Then that's Justin Thomas.
I think I need to ask then outside of JT. Also, how did JT become such great chummy buddies with Tiger? How did that happen? I just want to know, out of curiosity, if someone knows the story. Corona Premier Golf Bag. You can watch. We got the cameras rolling. You can watch the webcast. Facebook, search the Out of Bounds Show. YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports. We'll tell you how to enter to possibly win the Corona Premier golf bag on the other side.
In any industry, businesses come and go, but we've been here in the greater Jackson and Vicksburg areas for almost 25 years. We couldn't do that without a dedicated, friendly staff and without loyal customers who trust us. It's really not that complicated. We take good care of our employees and we take great care of our customers. We think that's a pretty good way to run a business. I'm Nick Fulton, and our business is USA Pawn.
Football season is here, and Four Roses Bourbon would like to raise a toast as we celebrate game day. Whether you're sipping on Four Roses Bourbon at the hunting camp, by the fire pit, on the patio, or outdoor kitchen, handcraft the moment with Four Roses Bourbon as they celebrate 130 years. Cheers to Four Roses Bourbon and football season. Be mellow, be responsible.
Honey, don't forget your mom's birthday present.
It's a whole new shopping experience at USA Pawn. We have an amazing selection of quality merchandise, from jewelry and home goods to tools and furniture. And with our prices, it's like everything's always on sale.
What'd you get your mother?
USA Pawn, 3 locations in the Jackson area, plus Vicksburg, Pearl, and Canton. Get mega more at your mega store, USA Pawn.
Game day will never be the same because Pearl River Resort is introducing all new ways to win with Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. This is your ticket to Vegas-style sports betting, and it's game time. Place your bets on dozens of high-impact sports matchups anytime at the Timeout Lounge. And as always, play over 1,100 Vegas-style slots, 25 table games, and our 14-table poker room. Pearl River Resort is redefining what it means to win with Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. We're not just fans. We're here to play.
In any industry, businesses come and go, but we've been here in the greater Jackson and Vicksburg areas for almost 25 years. We couldn't do that without a dedicated, friendly staff and without loyal customers who trust us. It's really not that complicated. We take good care of our employees and we take great care of our customers. We think that's a pretty good way to run a business. I'm Nick Fulton, and our business is USA Pawn.
Football season is here, and Four Roses Bourbon would like to raise a toast as we celebrate game day. Whether you're sipping on Four Roses Bourbon at the hunting camp, by the fire pit, on the patio, or outdoor kitchen, handcraft the moment with Four Roses Bourbon as they celebrate 130 years. Cheers to Four Roses Bourbon and football season. Be mellow, be responsible.
Honey, don't forget your mom's birthday present.
It's a whole new shopping experience at USA Pawn. We have an amazing selection of quality merchandise, from jewelry and home goods to tools and furniture. And with our prices, it's like everything's always on sale.
What'd you get your mother?
USA Pawn, 3 locations in the Jackson area, plus Vicksburg, Pearl, and Canton. Get mega more at your mega store, USA Pawn.
Game day will never be the same because Pearl River Resort is introducing all new ways to win with Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. This is your ticket to Vegas-style sports betting, and it's game time. Place your bets on dozens of high-impact sports matchups anytime at the Timeout Lounge. And as always, play over 1,100 Vegas-style slots, 25 table games, and our 14-table poker room. Pearl River Resort is redefining what it means to win with Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. We're not just fans. We're here to play.
In any industry, businesses come and go, but we've been here in the greater Jackson and Vicksburg areas for almost 25 years. We couldn't do that without a dedicated, friendly staff and without loyal customers who trust us. It's really not that complicated. We take good care of our employees and we take great care of our customers. We think that's a pretty good way to run a business. I'm Nick Fulton, and our business is USA Pawn.
We're giving away a Burgers, Blues, and Barbecue $25 gift certificate and an Out of Bounds T-shirt in this segment, 9 minutes. You have to go to YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports, and just comment on our webcast. You can just say, hey. Or go to Facebook and search the Out of Bounds Show and comment. And that's how you enter to possibly get a Burgers, Blues, and Barbecue $25 gift certificate and an Out of Bounds T-shirt, which kind of got a vintage look. It's cool. We got really cool gear. Now, the also the kind of the Masters Grand Prize giveaway for us this week is the Corona Premier golf bag, and our guests join us on the Corona Premier guest line this month. It goes Corona Premier and Crawfish from Mudbugs is a grand slam. Blake, tell our listeners how to enter, and they could possibly win the Corona Premier golf bag.
Oh, it's so easy.
So easy.
So easy.
Okay.
I may win it. Go to @BoBounds on Twitter, and you share, retweet, and like the @BoBounds. So the post is right there at the top. It's pinned to the top. You share that post, and then you follow the page. Boom, you're done. You go to Facebook, search the Out of Bounds Show. You do the same thing. Share that pinned post about the giveaway, and you like the page, follow the page, and you're done.
This is a big deal.
Yeah. And so you can enter twice, which is your name can appear on both lists.
Ooh.
And I'm just going to take everyone who shares, likes, and follows on that post, and I'm going to put all those names into a generator. I'm going to click enter, and it's just going to pop a name out for me.
Boom. I love it.
It'll be easy breezy.
You've got all day to do that, too.
Yes.
If you're busy, if you're going into surgery, if you're going into a super intense meeting, if you're a CPA and trying to crank out tax returns, and or maybe you're on the road and you're making it happen in the world of sales and business development, you've got all day to do it.
Yep.
So and we're going to continue to tell you how to do it. But this Corona Premier golf bag, you can see a picture of it on any of our platforms. Instagram @Bo_Bounds. Facebook, search the Out of Bounds Show. Twitter @BoBounds. Cool. Steve Palazzolo will join us with Pro Football Focus coming up at 8:30 on the Corona Premier guest line. We'll talk NFL QBs. Blake was talking about Baker Mayfield. Where will Baker Mayfield end up? Then I think another question with the Browns, I mean, he's not going to end up with the Browns, is how long will Deshaun Watson be suspended? 6 games?
6 down to 4, maybe?
6 down to 4.
Because if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm going, hey, guys, you know, I set out, they dropped the charges.
Right.
You know, let's work this out.
Okay. And then Blake wants to keep an eye on Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. You kind of get the sense from coming out of Philly that this is it. I mean, you got to prove that you can do it, and we'll see. He's also, I think, fortunate he played at Bama in Oklahoma, and then Tua Tagovailoa gets a new coach who's offensive minded, although his old coach was really, really good and had no business being fired. But Mike McDaniel is the whiz kid under Kyle Shanahan for our listeners, the head coach for the San Francisco 49ers. And Mike McDaniel is he's a nerd. You wouldn't think that he may not have played high school football, but he's the head football coach for the Miami Dolphins. He went to Yale.
Yeah.
And he's been under Shanahan, and they've done some really cool things on offense, including what all they've done with Deebo Samuel, among other guys, by the way. Who's their tight end real quick, Blake?
George Kittle.
Yeah, what they do with their offensive skill talent is off the charts, super duper impressive. And so Mike McDaniel looks like he's about 22, and he is Tua Tagovailoa's new coach, and he's down in Miami, and we're going to see if he can put enough juice. Now, I'll give him this. Boy, have they set the table for Tua as far as now his O-line and his skill people, Blake. Because tell our listeners what happened within the last few weeks as far as what Miami acquired.
Well, you went out and got Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you know, that's the end-all, be-all. That's the cheat code.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was Steve Palazzolo who said it himself. He said if he had to take any receiver in the league, he'd take Tyreek Hill.
That's right.
He's the most unguardable player at this moment in the league.
Even though Devontae Adams is so good,
Yeah.
and there's not that much difference, he said he would go Tyreek Hill over Devontae Adams, and I can't wait to see what happens with Devontae with the Las Vegas Raiders. But back to Tua, who played at Bama, and we all got to see him play against Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and other teams. Tua this is a great opportunity because they drafted, who's the Bama receiver? Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith.
From last year. They had Waddle from last year, and so he'll be a second year. You add Tyreek Hill. They've put some other pieces around him. And the crazy part is you're in a division with Josh Allen, who's the overwhelming favorite to get MVP this year, and another Alabama quarterback. Excuse me, I just knocked myself out. Mac Jones. I knocked my mic off.
I was like,
Mac
whoa.
Jones. That's amazing. Nick Saban heard us talking. He cut us off. Mac Jones is at New England, and Mac Jones had a really, even though you can say there's a lot of ancillary factors, he had a really good rookie season.
Does anybody seem more boring than Mac Jones? He's like Bill Self.
I was about to say,
and Mike Weir.
Yeah. Why are you taking unfair shots at Mike Weir? Just drive-bys.
You've
never met
Nobody
that man.
even knows who he is that's listening, unless they're like unless they're part of that 3% golf crowd.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who he is.
That's so funny.
No, Mike Weir went in the Waffle House at Augusta, Georgia last night. Nobody knew who he was.
There were other people at the Champions dinner who had to ask who he was.
Yeah, Tiger was like, "Who is this guy?"
That's funny. No, I
is this Jack Nicklaus's bodyguard?
Yeah, I agree.
He's not a big guy, so he wouldn't be.
Tua's season is massive. Jalen's season is massive, and then
Baker Mayfield. What happens there?
We don't know where he's going to go. The Browns, you're not going to get much for him because at this point he's kind of trash.
They lost. Remember what Andrew Brandt said? They lost all their, which they're fine with. They lost all their leverage once they picked up Deshaun Watson.
Yes, correct. So Baker will move for cheap if nothing at all, and then the other guy, because we're going to see him so much, is Daniel Jones, brand new head coach. It's his third coach. Like this, just Daniel Jones and the New York Giants. It's just an interesting thing because the Cowboys are going to play him twice,
right?
And the Giants, obviously with Eli, had stability even through losing seasons. They had stability at the quarterback position.
They did.
Now I think they're going to be right back in the QB sweepstakes.
If he doesn't get rolling,
I don't think I'm prognosticating they will be right back in the QB sweepstakes.
Okay, and they went with Daboll from Buffalo.
Yes, Brian Daboll.
But Daboll was under Belichick, then Saban, then went to Buffalo. Buffalo has become one of the cool offenses in the league under Josh Allen, and then Daboll took the head coaching job for the New York Giants.
Yep.
And as you said, Daniel Jones, this is make or break.
You know what we're seeing a lot of, too? You know how we always talked about Mike Leach's coaching tree was so influential and widespread? And it is. Nick Saban's coaching tree was always widespread, but it never felt influential.
Okay.
Right? We're seeing more and more guys who maybe didn't start under Saban, which could be a good thing, but when they go through the Saban cycle, they come out better and are more successful. And I think that's an interesting new wrinkle in the Saban coaching tree hierarchy.
I agree with you.
More and more guys are now being successful post Saban than we ever saw early in his tenure. And I think that's because, A, he's changed a little bit on how he coaches and coaches his coaches, but also that it's better to maybe not come up under Saban, but to go through the Saban cycle.
And then the flip side is all of Mike Leach's guys, none of them are really that.
They're not panning out.
They're not. They all go get jobs because what Mike did at Texas Tech and Washington State is so remarkable and amazing.
Name me the most successful Leach guy now.
But as Dave Bartu tells us, nobody can leave him and run the air raid. And even a tweaked air raid like Graham Harrell at Southern Cal. Now, I know that may not be fair because of the culture. But the point is, who has left the nest and had just remarkable success?
It's more that
even remarkable. Who has left the nest and had just really good success?
It's more the
not
influence.
Dana Holgorsen.
It's the influence they have on the offenses they touch rather than the total team success they have. But isn't that indicative of Mike Leach?
Is Lincoln Riley the most successful? Because Lincoln was under Mike Leach for 7 years. He goes to Oklahoma, wins, and he's going to win big at Southern Cal.
What about Cliff Kingsbury?
Yeah, but the Texas Tech deal wasn't. The Cardinals thing with Kyler's pretty successful. Steve Palazzolo on NFL QBs coming up next on the Corona Premier Guest Line. Football season is here, and Four Roses Bourbon would like to raise a toast as we celebrate game day. Whether you're sipping on Four Roses Bourbon at the hunting camp, by the fire pit, on the patio, or outdoor kitchen, handcraft the moment with Four Roses Bourbon as they celebrate 130 years. Cheers to Four Roses Bourbon and football season. Be mellow, be responsible.
Honey, don't forget your mom's birthday present.
It's a whole new shopping experience at USA Pawn. We have an amazing selection of quality merchandise, from jewelry and home goods to tools and furniture. And with our prices, it's like everything's always on sale.
What'd you get your mother?
USA Pawn, 3 locations in the Jackson area, plus Vicksburg, Pearl, and Canton. Get mega more at your mega store, USA Pawn.
Game day will never be the same because Pearl River Resort is introducing all new ways to win with Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. This is your ticket to Vegas-style sports betting, and it's game time. Place your bets on dozens of high-impact sports matchups anytime at the Timeout Lounge. And as always, play over 1,100 Vegas-style slots, 25 table games, and our 14-table poker room. Pearl River Resort is redefining what it means to win with Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. We're not just fans. We're here to play.
In any industry, businesses come and go, but we've been here in the greater Jackson and Vicksburg areas for almost 25 years. We couldn't do that without a dedicated, friendly staff and without loyal customers, customers who trust us. It's really not that complicated. We take good care of our employees and we take great care of our customers. We think that's a pretty good way to run a business. I'm Nick Fulton, and our business is USA Pawn.
Football season is here, and Four Roses Bourbon would like to raise a toast as we celebrate game day. Whether you're sipping on Four Roses Bourbon at the hunting camp, by the fire pit, on the patio, or outdoor kitchen, handcraft the moment with Four Roses Bourbon as they celebrate 130 years. Cheers to Four Roses Bourbon and football season. Be mellow, be responsible.
Honey, don't forget your mom's birthday present.
It's a whole new shopping experience at USA Pawn. We have an amazing selection of quality merchandise, from jewelry and home goods to tools and furniture. And with our prices, it's like everything's always on sale.
What'd you get your mother?
USA Pawn, 3 locations in the Jackson area, plus Vicksburg, Pearl, and Canton. Get mega more at your mega store, USA Pawn.
Game day will never be the same because Pearl River Resort is introducing all new ways to win with Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. This is your ticket to Vegas-style sports betting, and it's game time. Place your bets on dozens of high-impact sports matchups anytime at the Timeout Lounge. And as always, play over 1,100 Vegas-style slots, 25 table games, and our 14-table poker room. Pearl River Resort is redefining what it means to win with Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. We're not just fans. We're here to play.
In any industry, businesses come and go, but we've been here in the greater Jackson and Vicksburg areas for almost 25 years. We couldn't do that without a dedicated, friendly staff and without loyal customers, customers who trust us. It's really not that complicated. We take good care of our employees and we take great care of our customers. We think that's a pretty good way to run a business. I'm Nick Fulton, and our business is USA Pawn.
Football season is here, and Four Roses Bourbon would like to raise a toast as we celebrate game day. Whether you're sipping on Four Roses Bourbon at the hunting camp, by the fire pit, on the patio, or outdoor kitchen, handcraft the moment with Four Roses Bourbon as they celebrate 130 years. Cheers to Four Roses Bourbon and football season. Be mellow, be responsible.
Press the button, my friend.
The Out of Bounds Show is live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge in the Bank Plus studio.
Check it out.
All right, because Steve Palazzolo has 8 kids under 8 years old, he's not sure if he's going to be able to watch the Masters and or how much he can watch of the Masters and Augusta National this weekend. I was there at one point. Now mine are juniors and seniors in high school, but I don't have as many as Steve, but they were 17 months apart. And there was a window there where, yeah, you're done. You're just trying to contain and control and somewhat play zone or man-to-man. We welcome in our guy, Pro Football Focus, NFL insider Steve Palazzolo. He joins us on the Corona Premier Guest Line. So are you locked in to a little bit of Masters, my man?
Yeah, so I can watch. It's easier to watch while I'm working. So Thursday and Friday, easier to have it on while I'm working and all that stuff. Just the weekend, it's crazy with the kids. My oldest, so my 6-year-old, likes watching golf. He just gets upset every time they don't get it in the hole. So, like, every single shot, he gets sad. I'm like, no, son, they're only going to get it in the hole 8 times. It's okay. That's still a good shot. So, yeah, we're still trying to teach him.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good. I remember those days. All right. So it's opening day in Major League Baseball. You made it to AAA with the San Francisco Giants. Do you want to talk about my Atlanta Braves for 20 minutes, or do we want to go to Baker Mayfield and Jalen Hurts and Daniel Jones and so on? Which direction you want to go, Wildman?
We could talk Braves right there. They're playing my Reds tonight. Is that right?
Yes, you're Cincinnati.
My hometown Reds.
Boom.
That's my National League team. So there's as excited as fans were about the Bengals during the postseason, they're just as upset about the Reds trading away their good players this offseason. So we'll see what happens there.
Oh, well, I don't know if you know this because you're all locked in, but Jeff Brantley is one of the TV radio guys for the Cincinnati Reds. They call him Cowboy. What is it, Blake? Reds Cowboy,
yeah.
on Twitter. He played baseball at Mississippi State. Then he went on to play for, who you played for. He went on to play for the San Francisco Giants and then the Philadelphia Phillies, maybe one other. Oh, and the Reds. But he's been with the Reds for like 15 years. He comes in studio during the offseason. He lives here, by the way. And he comes in studio in the offseason. But he talks about how great a job he has as the Cincinnati Reds color analyst on both TV and radio, and how good a gig it is. So it's funny that you live in Cincinnati and Brantley is part of that team. All right, let's start with Baker Mayfield. What is going to happen as we're just a few weeks from the draft? What's going to happen with Baker Mayfield, Steve?
I thought we'd have some closure at this point. I thought they would just release him if no one else had a good trade offer. The market just dried up. There, the QB desperate teams seem to disappear, other than say the Panthers and the Panthers, the Seahawks, but the Seahawks at least have a starter, kind of, in Drew Lock. The Panthers have Sam Darnold. I mean, you just don't have a market for Baker Mayfield. So I thought something might happen. Now I don't know if the Browns are going to try to keep him around in case there's a suspension, but I think that bridge is pretty well burned. So it'll probably end up in Baker getting released, and some team's going to take a shot on him. The Steelers were reportedly interested, and there's reports before that the Giants would bring him in to compete with Daniel Jones. But I think those are the types of teams. Anybody who needs a quarterback should at least take a shot to see if they can rejuvenate Baker Mayfield's career, because there's a difference between where Baker is right now and, say, Sam Darnold 4 years into their respective careers, because Mayfield's been good at least for 2 of those 4 seasons, whereas Darnold's never really shown signs of improvement. Mayfield's been good at one point, so if you need a quarterback, Falcons included, at least take a shot and see if you can rejuvenate his career, because he's still talented.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on Baker Mayfield and who will eventually grab him. Daniel Jones. So he's the New York Giants QB. The owner, Mr. Mara, has come out and said, we've done everything we could do to screw this kid up. And And so now they've got an offensive-minded coach in Daboll. He looks athletic, big. He's faster than people think. I think he ripped off a 67, 68-yard run. I think it was called back, but he, he's got some skills. Where do you see this going in New York?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can at least have Daniel Jones play a little bit better, right? If they do take this next step in his development. Brian Daboll did an amazing job with Josh Allen in Buffalo, and I just don't know if Daniel Jones has that same type of growth potential. I think he kind of is what he is, and that doesn't mean that he won't have good seasons and average seasons and all that stuff. It's just I think Daniel Jones is very dependent on his supporting cast, which hasn't been great, right? As you already mentioned. So they do have work to do on the offensive line. I do think a healthy group of receivers with Kadarius Toney and Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard. I mean, they've got guys to throw to there. They do need to get that line in order. I just think we're going to come out of this season thinking, all right, do you really want to buy into Daniel Jones on a second contract? Because that's going to be the question. As the rest of the league is going nuts trying to get their top 8 quarterback and, scrambling to get in position because they don't want to be left behind, are you going to lock yourself into Daniel Jones, who's probably a mid-tier starter at best? I don't know if that's where the future is going to go for the Giants, and I think they should work the draft. They've got picks 5 and 7. I think they should be looking to trade down or trade into next year and maybe be in good position for the quarterback class next season. And I just think that's where the Giants would be smart to hedge, because Daniel Jones might be fine, but I don't think you're looking for a fine starter. You're looking for, a top starter, as I always talk about.
All right. Steve Palazzolo, Pro Football Focus, PFF.com on the Corona Premier Guest Line. If you had to pick one today and you had a game this weekend, would you go Gardner Minshew or Daniel Jones?
Still probably Daniel Jones. I'm a Gardner Minshew fan because it's kind of like he set this pretty decent baseline in a rough situation in Jacksonville, and I want to know if he can do more. I do think Daniel Jones is a little bit more consistent and a guy that you can count on just a little bit more in a given game week. So I'll go Daniel Jones here.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. If you had to wager and throw some money on the table today on who's going to be the better QB the next 4 to 6 years, Jalen Hurts or Tua Tagovailoa?
Oh man, I never thought Jalen Hurts would leapfrog Tua. I would probably have to go with the NFL evidence, though. No, I don't know. I'll stick with Tua. I'm sticking with Tua.
You almost.
I think Hurts has done I know. I think Hurts has done some nice things in the NFL. And here's the thing with Hurts. 10 years ago, Jalen Hurts, I don't think has a chance. But I do think the fact that the NFL's embraced quarterbacks in the run game, that he can go out there and rush for 500, 600, 700 yards a year, does change things, right? Because you don't have to be as good as a passer. It's not necessarily the way you want to win and everything, but Hurts can be a more serviceable starter because of that. I do think Tua is going to play much better this year and be much better. And, how much of that's Tyreek Hill and Waddle in second year and all that, and better offensive line. I'm sure that's going to help, but I'll go with Tua. I think he's going to take a step forward here in year 3.
All right. I can't remember if I asked you this a few weeks ago because it's been a weird, wild few weeks. Because I was out of town and then I had knee surgery, and I just can't remember the last time we called up and what I went over with you. But I want to switch gears to the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry and Stephen Jones and Dak. So you've got like Tampa Bay allowing Brady to recruit guys. You've got other franchises allowing their QB1 to be the face and recruit guys. You've got a guy in Dallas who's young, charismatic, and players think is cool. They like hanging out with him at off-season events. He's got a cool factor. However good you think he is, Steve, he's got a cool, and he's proven he can win a pretty good bit. And yet he's in his 20s, and they're not allowing him to recruit in free agency. And they are a market where young guys like to play, and if you're any good there, you become a star because of their history and how committed they are. How insane is it that Stephen and Jerry Jones are not allowing Dak Prescott to do some of the other things that other QBs are doing for their franchises? Steve?
So are you saying that as a reported fact that they're not letting him do that, or are we just assuming because we're not seeing it?
Well, I'm assuming because of their lack of making any moves in free agency.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Look, obviously I think they should use everything they can do to, to build a good team. I also, people like to say that the salary cap isn't real, and you see teams maneuver it every year and all that stuff, but it is a real thing. I mean, it does hinder moves, right? Because you're not just trying to become compliant every year. You want cap flexibility and all that stuff. They're still hurt by the Zeke contract, right? I mean, it's their own doing, but just that in particular kind of hurts what Dallas is able to do. They had Amari Cooper, get rid of him. For whatever reason, they soured on Cooper just like the Raiders did. But that does provide a hole because he's good. He's really good, no matter what they think of him. So it's as much what they've done like along those lines. And again, I don't know if they're keeping Dak from recruiting or anything like that. But at the end of the day, even when the Bucs let Tom Brady make the moves, they still have, cap compliance, and Jason Licht's the GM, and they still have to seal the deal on those guys. And Brady's also been proven that people legitimately do want to go play with him because he's proven he can go win championships. Not saying Dak can't do that, but we just don't know if he's necessarily out there on the recruiting trail, so to speak. But I think Dallas has gotten a little bit worse this offseason, and they've got some work to do to just get back to where they were last season.
So you do believe that they have gotten worse. I agree with you, but you know the numbers and the roster. You believe that they have taken a step back in this offseason, correct?
Yeah, I think losing Amari Cooper, I think losing Randy Gregory, you lose a starting guard in Connor Williams. I know they've had some additions too. Cedric Wilson at receiver, you lose, bring in James Washington, but I think they're worse at receiver. They're worse on the defensive line. They're worse on the offensive line. So they've got some work to do. They were unable to, lock in Randy Gregory for whatever the contract reason was there. They soured on Cooper and got rid of him, and they lost their starting guard, Connor Williams. So they've just got some work to do just to get up to last year's baseline, I would say.
Oh, that was kind of depressing. Steve Palazzolo, Pro Football Focus, PFF.com on the Corona Premier Guest Line. All right, in that division, in Dak's division now, you've got Carson Wentz with the Washington Commanders, Jalen Hurts with the Philadelphia Eagles, and Daniel Jones with the New York Giants. Even with them taking a step back, are they your leader to still win it, or are you going with the Eagles or someone else, Steve?
No, I'd still go with the Cowboys. I think they've got the best QB in the division. I still think they can have the most explosive offense. They have drafted really well over the last couple of years, at least in the top rounds there. So there's work they could do there that I think can improve the team. So yeah, I think the Eagles are a good, solid team, as we saw. The Commanders, whatever you want to say about Carson Wentz, I mean, they'll be better this year, I think, with Wentz under center rather than a full season of Taylor Heineke and a defense that should bounce back. We'll see what happens with the Giants. They're just in rebuild mode, and I don't know if they'll be able to make a big enough jump this year. But I think overall the division will be better, but the Cowboys, for me, still sit in the top.
And they, without a doubt, need to upgrade at wide receiver and on the O-line through the draft, or things could be shaky for Dak in that unit?
Look, my theory is always, be as good as you can at, with playmakers, right? So have 4 or 5 playmakers, not just 2. You're not just you don't just start 2 wide receivers. So, having Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb, fine. That's a good start. But the Cowboys offense was really good when they had those 2 guys, plus Amari Cooper, plus Cedric Wilson, by the way, when you needed him. James Washington, I think, at this point in his career is a good 3 or 4. But you want him more as your 4. He's an occasional deep threat. He never really panned out in Pittsburgh as a dependable every down receiver. So you don't want James Washington as your 3. So obviously that's a step back from having Amari Cooper. That's essentially the switch you made there. So yeah, I think you flood the field with as many good playmakers as possible, make it difficult for defenses. It's nice to have Dalton Schultz back. I think they'll find a replacement for Connor Williams at left guard, even if it's Connor McGovern who's there. They'll be fine, I think, there. But I think you win in this league by putting pressure on the defense through your playmakers, and obviously Dallas has taken a step back there.
And so what direction, if you were the general manager, what direction would you go in the first round for the Dallas Cowboys?
You know, it always depends on how the board falls. You know, I don't. It's always tough to guess where the receivers are going to go. But for me, if one of the top three receivers, the two Ohio State guys, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, or one of the top four, Drake London from USC, I don't think they'll fall. But if one of those guys is there, kind of like I didn't think CeeDee Lamb would be there a couple of years ago, but they grabbed him.
Right.
I would grab one of those guys. If Jamison Williams is there, you know, the speedster out of Bama coming off the ACL. If I'm every team, I'm considering him because there's few guys that have legitimate speed that plays on the field like Jamison Williams. And I think that makes every offense better. You know, if you have a Deshaun Jackson, Will Fuller type on your team. So I would consider those guys. I think Devontae Wyatt from Georgia, the interior defensive lineman, should absolutely be in play there. If they do want to go the starting guard route, you have Zion Johnson from Boston College. I think all of those are fine plays. They're needs plus value. I don't think you want to just fill needs in the draft, but you want guys that, you know, fit as far as the value board goes. And I think whether it's Wyatt from Georgia, Zion Johnson at guard, or any of those receivers that fall, I think those are all good plays for the Cowboys.
Off the top of your head, do you know what the hit rate is on first-round picks?
No, I don't. And I think it's probably 65%, I would say. But it depends on how you define hit rate, you know. It depends on if you're just saying, did this guy started for me? You know, and if that's the case, then like a bad tackle who starts for the next 4 years is a hit. So I don't think that's really a hit.
Right.
Depends on what you call it, you know. But it's certainly not 100%, but it's not as bad as like quarterback hit rate, which is 50. So it's in between those two. How's that?
All right. And the guy, are you sold on this Aiden Hutchinson? I mean, Michigan edge rusher, number one to the Jaguars. You know, there are some people that are kind of questioning it, but you kind of get I think the majority of the scuttlebutt is, oh yeah, slam dunk. I mean, are you there that he is a slam dunk, bona fide, deserving of a number one guy, and unless he gets injured, he's a can't miss guy, Steve?
No, I don't think there's any slam dunk in this draft. I mean, I honestly, I think it's a weak draft at quarterback. I think it's a weak draft at non-quarterback. It's, to me, that's what it looks like on paper. So I think the Bosa's, Chase Young, and Myles Garrett were slam dunks, and they have been, other than Chase Young's injury. They've been slam dunks. Those are the guys who have come out over the last 6 or 7 years on the edge who were wall-to-wall, like these dudes are going number one overall. And then they don't exactly if there's quarterbacks ahead of them, but those are top overall picks. I think Hutchinson's a tier below those guys, but also probably a step above everyone else in this class. So I trust Aiden Hutchinson more than, say, Trayvon Walker from Georgia, who's getting a ton of hype now. There was a recent mock draft, I think it might have been Charles Davis, who did put Trayvon Walker at number one. And to me, that's far riskier than Aiden Hutchinson. Trayvon Walker's production relative to recent first-round edge defenders is just not there. It's not even close.
Okay.
So I think Trayvon Walker is a freak athlete who is a massive risk. Kayvon Thibodeau, I think, is a good, solid player. But I think Hutchinson's a step above those guys. I think he'll be number one. But that's what makes this draft fascinating. There is nothing locked in right now because there's just not a whole lot of slam dunk elite players at any position, I don't think, in this draft.
Okay.
Compared to last year, especially. I mean, last year you had the top quarterbacks that you knew were going. You have a Jamar Chase at receiver who's awesome. You have a Kyle Pitts at tight end. Now we know what Micah Parsons has really become. But you had some incredible players come out in the first round last year. I just don't see that same level of talent in this year's class.
And the quarterback, that's it. So Dave Bartu, who we have on, who's an analytics dude and has been really accurate the last 12, 13 years on NFL QBs, because his deal is these three guys have done what you want them to do. They've elevated the people around them. They don't play for blue blood programs, and they've got a bunch of starts under their belts and things like that. And And so
he likes this class.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
He likes this class?
Yeah, he likes Corral, Pickett, and Willis because they had to carry their teams. That there were several guys that didn't have to carry their team or didn't have close to enough starts, a la Trey Lance, to justify their picks. And he stays away from Ohio State, Bama, Southern Cal QBs because he believes that they have it made.
Was he in on Burrow though? Because Burrow had it as made as anybody.
So
in
he did talk about Burrow as an outlier, and there are. And I love Trevor. I know he played at Clemson. I know they're great. Blah blah blah. But he is one of those guys that looks the part, played a lot, and so on.
Yep.
And that's interesting that you're not high on. Corral's got almost 30 starts under his belt. Pickett's been there. He's like 37 years old. And nobody knew about Liberty football until Hugh Freeze and Malik Willis went there. So that he just believes if you've got to carry the team. That's why he had Dak as the number one QB in 2016. And he said because Mississippi State had no business winning 10 games his junior year and 9 games his senior year in the toughest division in all of college football. Just kind of want to get your thoughts there.
No, I know. I've seen some of Dave's work, and we've talked about it on here. And I think it's look. I think when you're doing things analytically, you want to find a foundation to stand upon, right? And that is a decent foundation. And then there's always going to be outliers, right? In anything that you do, but you just want the hit rate overall to be a little bit higher. I mean, my concern. So part of that, I think, if you're looking at just starts, I think you kind of have to adjust for just the way the league has changed, and there's so many more early declarations now than there were, say, 10 to 15 years ago. That's why Bill Parcells would always say, I need a 4-year starter. It's like, well, you don't have many more of those anymore. And if a guy's starting for 4 years, it's probably because he wasn't good enough to come out, right? And so that's kind of how I look at, say, Kenny Pickett at this point in his career. I just don't think he throws the ball well enough. And he was like a mid-tier college quarterback until last season when he was really good, but I think that's a concern for a guy like Pickett. I think there are more concerns with a lot of these guys. I do like Malik Willis because, just like I mentioned with Jalen Hurts, the NFL is more willing to build around a running quarterback. You can create a lot of open throws and a lot of free yards by having Malik Willis as part of your run game, and then kind of hope he develops as a passer because the tools are there and he's got a cannon for an arm. So, look, any of these guys could hit, but yeah, it's interesting that a guy like Dave might be higher on this year's class than last year's when a lot of the consensus was the other way.
All right, we'll leave it there. Steve Palazzolo, Pro Football Focus, PFF.com. Crushing it on the site and with the podcast. Steve, have a great weekend. Thank you, buddy.
All right, thank you guys. Have a great Masters weekend.
Go Braves. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by the #1 commercial roofing company in Mississippi, and it is Independent Roofing Systems. Independent Roofing Systems for your next commercial roofing job, roofing.ms. Show is also presented by Live Oaks Golf Club. It's a good weekend to play some golf, but you'll need a pullover. LiveOaksGC.com. And Roosevelt's is the restaurant where you can smash a delicious cheeseburger in a Coors Light.